Hello, my name is John Gravely, and today I'll be presenting on Belmont Report's ethical principles and how it relates to the Condom Promotion Program. The Belmont Report was created to summarize the basic ethical principles identified by the above commission. These ethical principles are to serve as a basic justification to the other ethical principles and evaluations. The three that were picked were respect for persons, beneficence, and justice. Respect for persons incorporates two ethical ideas. First, that individuals should be treated as self-governing. And second, that individuals who are not able to govern themselves are to be protected. This is broken into two moral areas, which are, first, the ability to determine if someone can self-govern, and second, to protect those that cannot. So what is defined as being able to self-govern? According to the Belmont Report, it is defined as an individual capable of deliberation about personal goals and acting under the direction of such deliberation. This is important to understand and respect because the short of it is that you should not obstruct a person's ability to make educated choices or opinions on a matter, or withhold information they may need to make these decisions, or deny them the freedom of choice. Although not everyone is able to make choices for themselves. As we know, children are less able to make decisions than adults, and those with debilitating diseases or mental diseases are not able to make decisions themselves or are limited in the decisions they can make. According to the Belmont Report, they have concluded that some persons are in need of extensive protection, even to the point of excluding them from activities which may cause them harm. Informed consent is the application of how the Belmont Report ensures respect for persons as an ethical principle. Informed consent can be broken into three categories, and they are information, comprehension, and voluntariness. Information, in this case, is giving the basic public information about the research being done. In the Condom Promotion Program, the researchers pre-tested all the activities and information they would be distributing first. They got feedback on it from individuals from the selected areas in which they would be doing their study. They conducted a questionnaire that allowed them to adapt the communication activities to better suit the area. Comprehensions, in this case, is the ability to understand the information that is being conveyed. In the Condom Promotion Program, the researchers took effort into trying to help with comprehension, from changing how they went about delivering the messages to changing the activities in a way to fit the areas of interest and the culture and language of those areas to allow for better understanding of the message. Voluntariness, in this case, is being voluntary and not coerced to participate. In the Condom Promotion Program, all the participants were voluntary, and no one had to participate in the study if they didn't want to. The majority of research was done through street plays, games, and group discussions, which took place in public areas, and where everyone was free to come and go as they pleased. The areas above are how the Belmont Report gets across the point of the respect for persons. The research program has demonstrated hitting all three areas when dealing with the ethical guidelines. In general, beneficent covers acts of kindness or goodwill that is not done by any obligation. According to the Belmont Report, beneficence is broken into two general rules to express beneficent action. First, do not harm. Second, to maximize possible benefits and minimize possible harms. There has long been a Hippocratic oath in medicine to do no harm and to treat patients with the provider's best judgment. This particular principle attempts to address the issue of how to decide when the risks outweigh the means, or if the means outweigh the risk. This ethical principle is not just in regard to those conducting the research or experiments, but is also to be looked at by society as a whole. In these terms, according to the Belmont Report, they state, members of the larger society are obligated to recognize the long-term benefits and risks that may result from the improvement of knowledge and from the development of medical, psychotherapeutic, and social procedures. This basically means that it is the responsibility of the people as a whole to understand and determine if what is being done is worth the risk for the long-term benefits, knowledge, and medical advances it will give. Assessment of risks and benefits is the application of how the Belmont Report ensures beneficence as an ethical principle. Assessment of risks and benefits can be broken into two categories, and they are the nature and scope of risks and benefits, and the systematic assessment of risks and benefits. The nature and scope of risks and benefits, in this case, is that the research is being justified. In the condom promotion program, it is. A big issue would be psychological risks in terms of culture and stigma about using condoms and the belief that they would be looked down upon by friends and family. This might not be what you would consider a risk outright, but it is a risk that the individual has to grapple with in terms of deciding whether to use a condom or not, and thus directly impacts the research study. The systematic assessment of risks and benefits. In this case, those that are making decisions about the research need to be thorough in their accumulation and assessment of all the information and aspects of the research. In the condom promotion program, the researchers were very thorough in the way they went about justifying the results of the research through 2 additional studies conducted to monitor if the information and behavioral determinants selected were still beneficial and if the program was still working. The researchers reassessed every 6 months through the program to make sure that results were still beneficial and changed it where it needed to be changed to make sure it was. As you've seen here, it is justifiable that the condom promotion program hit the areas of application of beneficence in their study and are ethical in their way of conducting the study. Injustice occurs when some benefit to a person in which they are entitled to is denied without justification. Justice being that of getting what a person deserves or a fair distribution in terms of research. The Belmont Report has broken this into 5 areas, as you can see above. Some just notable cases in recent times of injustice when discussing research would be with the forced participation of people in concentration camps and the Tuskegee syphilis study that occurred in the 1940s. Thus, when conducting research in order to maintain a just approach, you must look at the selection of the research subjects and determine if they are picked fairly or they are picked systematically because they are more available, easily persuaded, or have no other choice. Also, when discussing justice, any procedures or methods that were found to help during the research must be available to all people. Selection of subjects is the application of how the Belmont Report ensures justice as an ethical principle. I've broken it down to talk about justice versus injustice in that particular area. In this study, there could be an argument that the researchers chose to go about the selection of their subjects in an unjust way. The reason for this is because the Belmont Report clearly states that subjects should not be chosen from social, racial, sexual, and cultural biases in society. In this study, the researchers targeted low economic classes. Although the study was to promote condom use in particular among those that visited sex workers, which would be found in this area, it is not limited to that. So one could argue that even though they treated their subjects in a just and fair way, the way they went about getting them was not ethically appropriate according to the Belmont Report. Then there's the other argument, that in order to do the best good for the best number of people, they had no choice but to choose those subjects from a low economic class. The reason being, those were the ones that would benefit the most from the program at hand. The study would be wasting resources and time and not benefiting the most number of individuals if they didn't go about doing it this way. So those people would believe that it was justified to do so, and that by not doing so would break the beneficence ethical principle. Here I will address what I would change. First, talking about respective persons. The first thing I would change would be to explain to the participants more in depth the goal and nature of the study. Then I would ask the people how they thought we should go about getting this goal accomplished. I would focus strongly on adapting feedback from the people to create a message that is unique in the culture and language of the areas of interest. I think that this is justifiable because you are getting the people involved in a project that is for their own benefit. Why should they not get a say in what is important to focus on, as long as the overall goal is accomplished? Other than that, I would leave everything else the way the original study was conducted. Second, talking about beneficence. This area is important, especially to me, who has taken an oath to do no harm. The researchers did not do any harm, and are very much in line with the ethical principle here. I would also argue that the benefits severely outweigh the costs, and that the long-term benefits directly help the society as a whole. The only thing I would like to see addressed would be that of a risk-benefit analysis in terms of the psychological risk of condom use versus the perceived risk of HIV, STIs at the beginning of the study. As the study progressed, the cultural beliefs changed and the social stigma factors in particular decreased. I justify this because I think it would be interesting to have seen how greatly the social stigma risk impacted condom use versus that of an actual contractual disease. Other than that, I would leave everything else the way the original study was conducted. Third, talking about justice. As from the last slide, justice is important, and the fact that the area of study was all low economic populations does not necessarily follow that line. If I were to run the study, although the most impacted would be from the low economic areas in which the brothels are and the neighborhoods in which the sex workers work are, I would also have at least one area outside of the low economic population to not only get feedback about the disparities between the two groups and possibly increase condom use nationwide, but also because that is what justice calls for, and fair and equal distribution to everyone. This is my bibliography and the sources and where I found my information. Now's the time to ask any questions you have.